Welcome to the show. Hope you had a good long weekend. If you had one, I wish I could come back to you with great news, but I'm not starting with positive news today. And one of the things I promised you is that I will always tell you things as I see them. You can disagree with my conclusions. You can say I'm leaving out this or that, and here is why I should have a different conclusion. But I will always tell you where I am seeing things. And where I am seeing things right now is that for the first time in a long time, really since Kamala Harris became the nominee, if you look at battleground state polling and assign states to the current leader, Donald Trump would have enough votes to secure the presidency. I'm going to talk you through it. Now, I know that there are many of you who say, David, I love your facial hair. I think your turtlenecks are great, but I don't like it when you give me negative information. Well, we're going to have to deal with it because that's where we are. Let me tell you first what doesn't so much matter. It is true that if we look at the national polling, Kamala Harris's lead is as small as it has been in 5 weeks. Kamala Harris's national polling lead had swelled to 2. Maybe even 2.1, 2.2. It's now down to 1.4, losing 30 or 40% of that lead. Now, you would rightly say, David, sir, we don't have a national popular vote. We have an electoral college, to which I say, yes, sir or ma'am, you are absolutely correct. Let's look at where we are now as far as the battleground states. As of today, Donald Trump has taken a lead in Arizona, a state that was won by Joe Biden in 2020. As of today, Donald Trump leads Nevada, a state won by Joe Biden in 2020. Kamala Harris holds a lead in Wisconsin. Donald Trump has taken a lead in Michigan, another state won by Joe Biden in 2020. In Pennsylvania, Donald Trump currently is indeed leading, even though that was a state won by Joe Biden. North Carolina, a state Trump won, he is holding a lead, although it is a small lead. And in Georgia, a state won by Joe Biden, Donald Trump is indeed leading. Where does this put us in terms of the Electoral College? Well, let's take a look at exactly that. Here is the electoral map. We start with the map based on 2020 results, and then we simply flip the states that, according to polling today, Donald Trump leads in. That means we flip Arizona. That means we flip Nevada to Trump. Trump has a lead in Michigan, Trump has a lead in Pennsylvania, and Trump has a lead in Georgia. If the current battleground state polling were to reflect the eventual winner in November, Donald Trump would win a second non-consecutive term with 302 electoral votes, whereas Kamala Harris would be left with only 236. Now, I'm not going to go through here and go through every scenario. Well, if Harris flips this one, but not that one. We're not going to do that. We're 2.5 weeks away. The point here is that before, I would say to you, it's looking tighter than 2020. But if the current battleground state polling holds, Harris has Pennsylvania, and she has Michigan, and she mostly has Nevada. That would give her a win, but it would be a slightly smaller margin of victory than Joe Biden had. As of today, based on the battleground state polling averages, Kamala Harris would lose and Donald Trump would win. Now, let me give you the counterpoint that I know many of you are thinking of, and many of you have sent me the headlines. The counterpoint are these headlines that there are fake right-wing polls being used, and these are skewing the data. There are two parts to that, and I want to explain the two parts. Number one, are there fake right-wing polls that are being generated by MAGA-affiliated pollsters? Yes, there are. However, the Real Clear Politics average that I just showed you does not include those. It is true that Rasmussen is part of the Real Clear Politics average, but Rasmussen, as a right-leaning pollster, was part of the average in 2020 and has been for a long time. That's not new. There are some right-wing pollsters, low-quality pollsters. They are generating polls, and they are the polls that Donald Trump often posts. When I looked at what's included in the Arizona average, what's included in the Pennsylvania average, and so on, I did not see that these averages are dramatically different based on the pollsters that are included. Now, let me give you the counterpoint. The counterpoint is that if you look at the 538 battleground averages rather than the RCP battleground averages, the 538 averages look slightly better for Kamala Harris. And that is also true. The difference is less than 1 point. The counterpoint is, David, many of these states are expected to come down to 1 point or less. Therefore, that 1 point difference is where the election rests. And I would say to you, you are absolutely correct. You figured it out. This election is likely to be so close that it will come down to sub 1 percentage point margins in states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. And the only conclusion we can come to once we acknowledge this is probably down to single points in 3 to 5 states is we've got to vote. I know it's cliche. I know it's repetitive. It's the truth. If you look at RCP versus 538 and you say, wow, it looks like there is a very small difference here that is going to be the deciding and difference maker, I should get out there and vote, and you would be absolutely correct in that conclusion. If you stay on top of the news, you follow politics and elections, why not win?
Tight race, but as of now, the tides have shifted. Only thing we can do is wait. Now, I do know, with the race being so tight, I believe within a certain percentage, either candidate can do a recall or recall the ballots or something along the lines of that. If it's within certain percentage, they can call a recount. So only thing we can do is wait until it's voting time. See what happens. Midas, make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go. Extraordinary Man Podcast. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.